Let's turn to an issue that has generated some headlines in this area in the last couple of years, and that is illegal immigrants. Should illegal immigrants be offered a path to U.S. citizenship, and what measures do you support to address the issue of illegal immigration? Mrs. Baker, you have the first response.
Well, let me first of all say that the immigration question is a question of national security, and I've said that throughout this campaign. It is incredibly important that we know, as a national security issue, who comes in and out of our country, especially in the age where we have many factions that would seek to do us harm and can get through our very porous borders. So I would suggest first that we have a comprehensive plan that includes securing our borders first. That is incredibly important to start with. And after that, a comprehensive plan to make sure that employers do not create demand. That is part of our problem. We have current laws in place that, if they would be enforced, we actually wouldn't have much of the problem that we have today. Now, we have to make sure that employers are not, don't become INS agents. We have to give them the tools that they need to verify and to understand whether or not an individual is illegal or not. We need to give them good and verifiable, strong tools to do that with, and so that they can know who they're hiring and who they're not. And that will be incredibly important to reduce the demand side of the equation. Now, my opponent has already started to hit me on immigration, and I'll just lay it right out here for you all. On immigration, I voted for all of the immigration reforms, except for that came through the State House while I was there. There was one that was a Washington-based solution. It was actually addressing a problem that didn't exist. I'm sure you will hear about it from my opponent, but rest assured that why I voted on that one was the law's already in place that prevents it, and we make sure that we didn't add a bureaucracy that was very expensive.
Mr. Luetkemeyer.
Thank you. I think probably Judy and I actually found a subject we can probably agree on a lot of the solutions to here. I agree that we need to enforce the borders, find a way, whether it's a physical fence or electronic fence. First, to solve the problem, you've got to stop people from coming. I think the second thing we do is enforce the existing laws. There are laws on the books right now that can solve part of our problems, but they're not being enforced. And I'll give you an example. I talked to a number of law enforcement people over the last several months, and they have reached the point where if they find an illegal immigrant and they have picked them up for a speeding violation or some sort of moving violation of some kind, they'll throw them in jail for 24 hours and they'll turn them loose because they don't have the manpower or the funds to deport them. Unless they commit a serious offense, they won't even be deported, won't even think about deporting because they don't have the manpower or the funds. So there is a problem with enforcement right off the bat. I think the third thing we need to do is penalize those employers who knowingly hire illegal immigrants. So you have to disincent people from coming. If you take away the jobs, you take away the health care benefits that some states provide, educational benefits that some states provide, and which Judy actually voted for in the House to provide educational benefits for illegal immigrants, which is, I can't believe this. But anyway, I think that those are things that disincent people from coming. And if there's another reason for them to come, they're not going to come. So as a result, I think that if you stem the flow, you enforce the laws, and you find a way to penalize those employers who knowingly hire those folks, you can get back to because it is, again, at the end of the day, a national security issue. We've got to find a way to get control of this monumental problem. We can't even estimate within 100% whether we have, well, how many illegal aliens we have. I mean, the estimate in Missouri is 35,000 to 65,000. Tell me how that is a number anybody can get a handle on. It's not. Thank you very much.
Ms. Baker, 1 minute.
Enforce the laws we have. And the one bill that he talked about that I voted against would have added a bureaucracy at our colleges and universities that would have added cost and added tuition costs to your bill. And so I protected the taxpayer dollar. I protected your dollar, your tuition dollar, by voting no vehemently on that bill. Vigorously opposed, because there's already a law in place that disallows us to enroll illegals at our colleges and universities. We must enforce that law. We already have it, not add other bureaucracies that add costs to our college tuition.
Well, we've reached the point now where it's time to sum up your closing statements. We'll go to the candidate who did the second opening statement, what seems like a long time ago. And that would be Mr. Luetkemeyer. We start the closing statements with you.
Well, it depends on where you're sitting. If you're up here, it's flown by. But thank you. And again, thank all the groups, Plan Progress and RCGA and the school for having us here, putting this event together. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Again, Congress is broken. The failed liberal leadership that has been in place the last 2 years came in with this chant of change, and they've certainly changed the direction. We've gone backwards instead of forwards. What have we done? The last 2 years, the cost of living has gone up over 4%. Unemployment's gone up over 1%. Grocery bill of the average citizen in the 9th Congressional District has gone up over $70 a month. That is not leadership. We don't need to send another liberal vote to Congress. I have the background and ability, I think, to solve these problems. When I was in Jefferson City, I had a record of working for you. I stood in the trenches and I cast those tough votes. I reached across party lines and was able to make a difference and work on bills that got things done for the people of this state. I told you the endorsements we had a while ago. Those people recognized the work that I did. My job security and now plan is something I think we can look at as a way to solve some of our problems, get our economy going, create jobs, no new taxes. I've signed the no tax pledge. I challenged my opponent to do the same. I don't think we need to go that route. Taxes are not a solution, they are the problem. Protect your savings. As somebody who's been in the financial industry, who's somebody who has a regulatory background, I can lead the issue on this. I can help solve problems. And we need to protect your savings and your retirement funds and Social Security. I have the background experience to be able to understand those issues and work for solutions. National energy policy. We have got to have a national energy policy. You've seen this summer the problems that we run into if we don't have that type of policy. I have a granddaughter, a year and a half old, named Riley. And I want to make a better place for her and for your children and grandchildren to live. I've raised a family, I've met a payroll. I share your values, I understand your concerns. I want to be your voice. That common sense, conservative values that you represent and the American spirit that has made this country what it is today and can make it even better tomorrow, that's what I want to represent in Washington, D.C. Thank you again for your opportunity to be here today. I humbly ask for your support. I'd be honored to be your next congressman. Thank you.
Mrs. Baker, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I hope we haven't bored you to tears. So it's getting close here, and you have to go back to class. Let me just say, as far as endorsements, I am proud to be endorsed by farmers, teachers, firefighters, working families, and I'm the only non-incumbent to be endorsed by the Veterans Organization here in America. Very proud to be endorsed by them as well. Today you've heard about a range of issues, and if you've listened carefully, my opponent wants to continue doing pretty much what we're doing and talk about issues that we've talked about for years and that haven't worked. While I think fundamental change is needed, from everything from jobs to health care to energy, fundamental change if you have listened carefully. You know, President Truman said it best. He said, progress occurs when courageous, skillful leaders seize the opportunity to make change. These are serious and challenging times, and this is what I want to roll up my sleeves and do. And I will say this about my opponent. He's a good man that has had a long career and that he should be proud of. He's been successful in business and banking and insurance. He's run for office many times. He's even been a leader in his party, but his experience is for a different place and a different time. We have a time of crisis that needs new leadership and new ideas. We need to make sure that we insist on doing things differently rather than insist on doing things the same. And I will be bringing that new leadership. Shouldn't that leadership be the kind that cuts through the politics of polarization and looks you in the eye and says, we can do anything if we will just do it together? That's the kind of leadership that I want to bring. The kinds of questions that Americans need answered are the questions we've talked about today. Before they cast their vote, they need to know these differences. They want to be assured that the failed policies of the past will be surely in the past. We just can't keep doing the same things over and over and expect a different result. If you send me to Washington, I will bring about Missouri values to Washington to make the change that we deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This concludes our debate between Judy Baker and Blaine Luetkemeyer, the candidates for the 9th Congressional District. I want to thank the Partners for Progress, the St. Louis Regional Chamber and Growth Association, and Barat Academy for organizing this debate. We want to remind everybody to vote on November 4th if you're old enough to vote. For those of you who have to wait, remember it's one of the things that keeps us free. Exercise that privilege when you have the chance. You may now applaud our candidates.